All right, Brent Force here at TopVelocity.net. Going to do a pitch analysis here at Glenn. Going to pair him up with Jason Mott. Let's take Glenn here into his leg lift. Glenn, you don't put the bucket. Don't try not to obstruct any of your body in your analysis videos. Just specifically that drive leg. I like to see how that drive leg comes off the rubber. So I'm going to be kind of stuck there on as far as what kind of analysis I can give you on that drive leg. So try not to put anything in the way. All right, let's take Jason to his leg lift. Okay, you can see Glenn here, similar to Jason, starting in the stretch position, feet past shoulder width, not rocking too hard back, going into the lift, and just trying to move with that. Go with that first move. Go with that that kind of tilt forward and shift the weight early and start building momentum. So that's good, because we want to get out of that position. Just like a sprinter, we don't want to take too long to get going. We want to get going as quick as we can. I mean, not that that's, you go back to, like, you look at Nolan Ryan, guys who have big leg lifts, they take a long time to get going, but when they do get going, they get going really fast. So it's not always, it's not like, it's not like one way or the other here. It's, you can make up for basically a big lift or big coil, whatever you want to call it. But when you're learning this, when you're learning how to start to accelerate more speed through your stride, build more power through your stride, it's easier just to kind of lift and go instead of shifting all your weight back and getting caught up in that position. So not to say that, I talk about this a lot, but not to say that this is the only way to do it. It's just the easier way to work on these mechanics and because get better at all the components up to front foot strike, or just before front foot strike, just after front foot strike, where pretty much velocity is generated. So getting going early can help us assist that momentum, accelerate that power. But we can, I've seen guys creep really slowly out of their deliveries, but still be very explosive, because really the key here is triple extension. That's our first power component. So if you're going fast into triple extension or going slow, it has a little effect. But I do like to see guys starting early. It gives you a little bit more of an aggressive move, and it just kind of gets you where you need to be as soon as possible, which is in a linear force vector, and which punches you in your triple extension. So if you're taking too long there, I just don't see a lot of low velocity guys. Most low velocity guys who take a long time to get to triple extension rarely actually complete it. So I like the guys that move earlier tend to get there earlier and actually are able to implement it. So kind of, if you're a guy who takes too long to get there, then you're really relying on your athleticism. Then you've really got to make up for it. So I just would rather see you come out in a early momentum, early shift of your momentum, because it's going to make it easier for you to implement the first key component, which is triple extension. So excuse me. That being said, we can see you're both kind of in a similar position. Let's take you into the load. So your lift leg, as your lift leg descends, you can see not as much body movement as your lift leg movements. So see what's moving the most here? What's moving the most here is the lift leg and the arms. That's typical of low velocity pitchers. High velocity pitchers, their bodies, everything's going to be moving together towards the goal. So just notice that, and then watch Jason here. So when his leg left gets the same position, look how his body is moving together with the lift leg and the hands. Everything is moving together. That's more characteristic of a high velocity pitcher, not just the limbs moving. We've really got to pick up speed with the body. So the point where you get extended and open, look at, you haven't covered much ground. The point he gets extended and starts to open the front foot, look how much lower his center of gravity is. Look how much more linear his force vector is. So look at this here. Sorry. Trying to get a straight line. There we go. Boom. Look at this here. Okay, you can see Jason's even late with his, but you can see still a big difference. You can see he's got more flexion back here. You're higher up the ground, and because you don't have as linear of a force vector, look how much closer your hips are to this back rubber. So you haven't really, you need the time, you need the distance. That's the purpose of a long stride, because it gives you the distance to generate a lot of speed, but also you have to be generating a lot of speed. So you can see here, just watching you, the distances, you haven't covered much distance, and you're really not moving with a lot of speed in between these frames here. And specifically, your body's not moving with a lot of speed. So if we go back to Jason here, look at the whole body movement between these frames here. So he also took more, because he took more distance, he's taken a little bit more time to get through these components, but we also see an acceleration specifically at the end where we want it through these components. So you can see from here, which this would technically be your load position, even though you can see because your lift leg gets out early, you're still vertical, you have to continue to drift out to get it linear. The problem is you open up and you get too far forward, and then you're just moving slow altogether, and that's why your arms are up early. That's why you're not moving quickly. You're not really using the drive leg to build the stride, build the power phase of the delivery. You're kind of just reaching out, drifting out, and everything is kind of flapping and just trying to make sure it's in position when that front foot lands. High velocity pitchers move differently. They move very dynamic, very aggressive, very explosive, and they accelerate their movements into front foot, so therefore they have a bigger coil or rotational torque to work with, which is really where velocity comes from. So you can see this is probably where he starts going in extension. He really gets linear, goes into full triple extension. We can see that back leg just ripping through into front foot strike, stabilizes right there, and the hips kick open. That's the key. If we can transfer or convert an explosive drive leg movement into early hip rotation, then we're going to create optimal hip shoulder separation. It's proven that pitchers that have longer strides have better hip shoulder separation, better separation from hips to shoulders, and it's also proven that they can generate more power. So we can see here that not only does he hit the full stride, that the power is represented in the torque, which is the hips are open because we can see his right pocket, shoulders are closed because that arm's still back to second, and he's coiled up. That's what we want. That's what high velocity guys do. So if you're not going to build the power, the explosive movement down in the stride, then you're going to land like you are here, and you can see by the time you did get linear, you were too opening. You're too open. So when you open your front foot, you open the front knee, you open the front hip, you start hip rotation right there. See that hip rotation starting? And it's starting because the front foot open? That should be the point that you extend through, but the problem is it's collapsing your back leg, because when the front hip opens, the back knee is going to turn down. So basically, you should have at this point hit triple extension, accelerated, driven off the rubber, at the same time your front foot open, and then you would have landed and you would have been in the same position here. Full extension, a lot of power, a lot of speed moving forward, and then the hips slamming open. But because you didn't, you land, hips are slightly open. The next one you stabilize, a little bit more open, and then there we go. We finally see that back pocket just like we do with Jason here. But what's the difference? Yours came much later after front foot strike, therefore less chance of it separating or pulling away from the shoulders, creating what we know is hip shoulder separation, which is proven to be 80% of a pitcher's potential velocity. So you can see your hips and shoulders moving together. So you see these hips and shoulders moving together. So if we separate it, then the shoulders move faster than the hips, because that torque, just like with a rubber band, will accelerate the rotational forces of the shoulders, pulling the arm back into optimal external rotation with that good forward trunk tilt. So you can see when you get that late external rotation, that vertical torso, that bent front leg, and then you start extending back into it, which is good. I like to see that, but you don't get into full extension until way later, and you're still vertical. So you can see Jason here starts to extend into release, hits full extension, almost full extension at release, and finishes a good forward trunk tilt. So he coiled better, converted it better up the kinetic chain, as allowing those forces to multiply from the cord to the shoulder, and then he moved and stabilized and extended front leg into release, which then transferred all that power into the ball. And that's why you have a high velocity pitcher here. You were unable to build the power. It led to late hip rotation, no hip to shoulder separation. So your forces, you gave a little extension in, which gave you a little bit of an acceleration towards release, but not enough because of the lack of torque through hip to shoulder separation. So it's just really learning the stride, or the triple extension, the power component of the delivery. It's key, and learning how to convert that to hip to shoulder separation is 3x pitching. You said you found you had a considerable velocity jump, more than likely because you're training, because you look like a strong guy, and you're getting a lot of it through the front leg. But there's so much more you could put through the drive leg along with the front leg, and learning how to separate it and convert it. So I hope this video helps, and I appreciate you sending it in.